And Lawrence, just pivoting back to the UK, defence is very much up the political agenda. You know, you've got politicians on all sides talking about more resources for the military, that we have got to do more. I had two issues that have jumped into my mind that I'd love to get your take on. One is the issue of getting more people into the army. We've had other countries talk about conscription. Do you think there's any world in which that would work here? And the second thing is, do we need to beef up our defences? You know, we've had some politicians talking about, you know, does London need an Iron Dome, for example? What do you think about that?
On the first one, there's a real problem with recruitment. So the targets have been lowered and we're still not reaching the target, and especially for the army, but not just the army. I mean, you've got a big problem. Again, if you're going to have all these nuclear submarines, you've got to find an awful lot of people who are prepared to spend a few months at a time underwater, submerged, and it's not easy. So you've got real problems with recruitment, and they have to be addressed. Conscription isn't the answer, because we don't need, you know, a large chunk of 18 to 25-year-olds in uniform. We don't need national service as we had up to the early 60s. But we do need to find more imaginative ways of encouraging people to join. And there are a variety of schemes in Scandinavia that are being promoted that provide positive encouragement for people to spend 2 or 3 years in the armed forces. And I think they're going to need to look at some of those. So we don't need enough to justify conscription. And anyway, the military don't particularly like conscription because they have to spend a lot of time training rather reluctant recruits. But they are quite keen to find new ways of incentives to encourage people to join the armed forces. The air defence of the United Kingdom is actually quite a significant issue. The fact is, if Russia started sending missiles in our direction, that would be pretty serious, I think, and it would be worried more about what the missiles had in their warheads than just an Iron Dome sort of issue. Because if they were nuclear, it wouldn't take very many to get through. So there is an issue of the air defence. We do have aircraft that can knock drones out, incoming drones or whatever, but ballistic missiles are quite tricky. But it's extraordinarily expensive to start setting up anything along Israeli lines. And a lot of the missiles they're dealing with are quite short range. Unfortunately, we don't have very close neighbours who are likely to try and send missiles in our direction. So I doubt if that's going to be in itself a major priority. But the fact of the matter is that, when you see the sorts of countries that do have missiles these days, it's not that hard to imagine a conventional rogue. It's not hard to imagine a state, a rogue state with conventional missiles posing a threat. So I'm not sure it's an issue that can be dismissed indefinitely, but I don't think it's one that's going to be a major priority now.